everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the music. So my name is Karina. I will be one of your animators today, and we also have Leal Jasir, who will also be animator today. We'll be talking to you more about the FORMATHON. So let me just 2 seconds to share my screen, and we'll be ready. So does everyone see my screen well? Yes, I see a couple of thumbs up. That's great. So first, a little quick reminder is the info session will be in English. If you are a French speaker, feel free to write your questions in French into chat, and we'll translate them for everyone to understand. So we want to be as inclusive as possible. So before we start, we're just going to try to launch a little poll. So you should see a pop-up come up on your screen. So we want to have a couple of insights on you guys. So if you can answer the poll. And if you don't see it, please tell me. So while you guys are answering the poll, I'll just quickly dive on the agenda for today. So first off, we'll do a quick intro for those who are maybe less familiar with who FinTech Cadence is. We'll go through what we do, and then we'll deep dive into what exactly is the FORMATHON. We'll kind of section it in 2 parts. First part, well, we'll kind of do a little intro, what exactly is open innovation, what is the FORMATHON journey, and what we'll be looking through this FORMATHON journey. Some key dates you guys have to keep in mind, and also some events we'll be having during the FORMATHON. In the second part of today's info session, we'll go through the challenges of the FORMATHON and who are the partners that have launched these challenges. We'll also talk about team formation. If you guys are alone, don't have necessarily a team, but want to participate in FORMATHON, how will this happen? How will this work? And finally, the best part, prizes and the final, where you guys will be able to present your project. So that will be really exciting. Then last part of the info session today, we'll go through a couple of success stories. We have a couple of alumni from last year's FORMATHON. I can tell you a bit more about what they went through and how exciting it was for them. And we'll finish off with a little networking event for those who want to know more about the other people who are here on the session and want to maybe start looking for teams. So if you want to stay till networking, that'll be also an exciting part. So let's do a quick intro on FinTech Cadence. Some of you might know who we are, some of you might not know. So for those who do not know us well, let's go quickly, very quick overview of what we do at FinTech Cadence. So first off, we're a nonprofit organization who's been around for about 4 years. And our mission is really to help develop Canadian FinTech leaders. And you might be wondering, how do we do that? So we have 3 pillars that really help us get to this goal. First, we really focus on education around what exactly FinTech is. So we have a couple of programs and a couple of events where we do awareness around FinTechs, its different verticals, everything you need to know about FinTech. Second, I'm usually used to doing collaboration first, and now I'm all taken aback. But usually what we do is we work in collaboration with all the other stakeholders of the ecosystem. So we're trying to be a bit like the middleman of this amazing ecosystem. So we work hand in hand with financial institutions, regulatory bodies, startups, of course, universities, professors, and students that are working in the FinTech sector. And last but not least, we're really there to help support the FinTech entrepreneurs. So we have different programs where we really help all these entrepreneurs get all the tools they need to really have a successful business. So I mentioned we had a couple of programs and events. Let me just give you a quick overview of what these programs and events are. So first off, we have the certificate, which is our 7-course program, which is really an overview of what exactly FinTech is. So if you are interested in learning more about FinTech, we have the course is given twice a year, first edition in English, which unfortunately for this year is already done because it's usually given in January. And the second edition for the first time will be given in French this year as of September. So if you guys want to learn more about what FinTech is, all the different verticals, I think the certificate is the perfect program for you guys. You can always look at our social media. We'll be announcing the next cohort very soon. The second program we have is our Ascension program. It is our incubation program, our 3-month incubation program, where we really help startups validate their program through different workshops, through different expert sessions, And our Ascension program finishes with an excellent demo day. So if we just finished our cohort recently, so if you guys want to learn more about what were the startups of our demo day, you guys can go check it out on our YouTube page. We have last week, 2 weeks ago, Ascension program. FORMATHON, I won't go through quickly I'll go very quickly around FORMATHON because we'll be talking about it a bit more in a few seconds. But our FORMATHON is our pre-incubation program, of course. It's an open innovation competition, but I'll let Leal deep dive on that a bit later on. And last but not least, our new addition to our programs is the IFH program. It's their second year doing it, and we joined forces with them. They were an organization in Toronto, based in Toronto, and we joined forces this year with them. It's a super cool program, very focused on startups who are working to help the financial lives of Canadians. It's a 6-month program. We've just announced a new cohort just recently. So if you guys want to learn more about the 8 new startups, we've announced them on our social media, and you can go check them out. Events, favorite part of what we do at FinTech Cadence. We have our famous FinTech Drinks, which is a networking events we do throughout the year. These are exciting events if you want to meet people from the FinTech industry. We bring together really everyone who is in the FinTech world from close or far. So if you are a professional, a student, if you are a startup, if you are somebody who's working in a bank, etc., these are the best events for you. We usually focus the event around a panel, and then we have a networking session after that. We've adapted the editions for virtual, so even if we are in COVID, you can come to these events and be safe. University series, other exciting events for people who want to learn more about what exactly FinTech is. We focus these events around different topics of FinTech, and it's kind of like a deep dive into different subjects. We have a very exciting one coming out tonight around payments. So I'm dropping it off here because if you are interested in the FORMATHON challenge that is around payments, I really recommend you guys take a look at this university series. We'll be looking at all the inefficiencies, the landscape of payments, and we'll deep dive a bit more into that specific FORMATHON challenge. So we'll be sending you the link tomorrow. So if you are interested in this specific challenge, it's a must-see. Last but not least, the career fair. I think I don't need to explain too much what a career fair is. I think most of you know. Unfortunately, we put it on hold for this year because of COVID, but we'll be back with it next year. So you guys, if you are interested in the career fair, it's quite a good show we give. So I'll stop talking. I think I've pitched enough FinTech Cadence, but I'll pass it on to you, Leal, to maybe deep dive a bit more on the FORMATHON. So.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Karina. And thank you, everyone. It's really cool to see all the different places that are being represented. I know some of the polls that we have people from British Columbia, of course, from Quebec and Ontario. So it's really, really wonderful to see as well. Wonderful to see the different backgrounds that you guys are coming from. Some of you guys know nothing about FinTech, which is usually my favorite people to talk to, because then I can just talk for hours about what FinTech is. And the majority of you guys know FinTech very, very well, which is also really cool to see. Hopefully we'll be able to match you guys accordingly as we proceed as well. So as Karina said, I'm here to talk to you guys a bit more about what is this FORMATHON program you've heard about, why would this be something that you'd participate in, and really what's the value you guys are going to get from being part of this program. And before I get into the program, you'll have to forgive me, but I'm going to start us off by explaining what open innovation is. And really explaining why open innovation is core to the development of the finance sector, especially when it comes to topics around innovation. And maybe just a few of you guys have your cameras on. So for the brave ones who do, if you have heard of open innovation, yeah, sorry, Izzy, I'm looking at you. I think you're one of the few. If you've heard of open innovation before, maybe just a thumbs up or a wave if you guys know what it is, or if you want to use your reaction video, please feel free to do that. Okay, and it's okay if you have no idea what open innovation is, because that is why I am here today anyways. So let me start by quickly introducing the concept there. So open innovation for us is really key in understanding how we can bring new ideas into the ecosystem. And let's start by seeing, well, why is that really key in the area and the ecosystem that we as in FinTech Cadence operates in? Well, one, we see that the finance sector really is in a position to develop and really does have a lot of components around it that need to be worked on. But it may not be evolving as quickly as, well, one, consumers want, two, in terms of global comparison, what's happening as well. And three, maybe those who are in the ecosystem, and for those of you who know fintech and might be working in a financial institution, maybe you know innovation is not happening quick enough. The next component that we look at is, well, what are the challenges that are actually happening today, right? And some of those challenges, it's difficult if you're outside of the sector to be able to identify, well, this is exactly the problem with insurance, for example. This is the problem with the way the payment systems are structured. At the same time, there might be opportunities that are not being leveraged. Even utilizing some of those same examples. Well, the insurance sector is a very slow sector. It's still very paper driven. That's an opportunity. And so we take those two components and we look and we say, well, one, innovation can happen internally. We'll get into that in a second. But why not outsource or crowdsource some of the ideas that either consumers have, those who work in the industry have, those who are studying about it or who just graduated might have, or those in general who are interested in seeing how can they push one of the biggest sectors in Canada forward, right? And that's where we start getting into open innovation and start understanding that the more we're able to leverage the collective thought processes, potentially, hypothesis, but potentially the better solutions we're able to actually execute on in the future. And so we often look at open innovation in two ways. One is closed innovation, where, again, I'm sure all of you guys can imagine what that looks like. Innovation ideas stay and developed and are designed internally in an organization or a company. So we think that we can innovate. We're going to start connecting to our innovation departments. Potentially, we're going to talk to our digital transformation teams, or we're going to look at the different business lines and see how can we bring in new ideas into what we're doing and the services we're providing. But what we're really seeing happening, and we've seen this kind of take off in the last, especially in the Canadian financial sector in the last 5 to 10 years, is open innovation. And that's what I was talking about a few seconds ago, in that it might be useful to see how we can garner all of this collective thought processes, all the different stakeholders, some of which I've mentioned earlier, consumers, people who are working, students, et cetera. And then how do we start building the most innovative products? And the assumption here is the more innovative the products are that the financial sector is able to provide, the better it is for Canada as a collective, not only because of their consumers, but for the Canadian economy. And of course, just to keep up with global competition as well. And so with that in mind, this is how we've designed the FORMATHON, and this is why we have the FORMATHON in general, right? The idea is we in FinTech Cadence talk to the financial sector all the time, and there are all these ideas that we can look at. And so we're going to try and see how we can bring that energy with hopefully all of you guys who are here today and start seeing some of the solutions that the industry has been telling us has been problems, or capitalizing on some of the opportunities that they've identified. So great, now we know the core of what you guys are looking at for the FORMATHON program. Let's talk about what does that look like concretely. Now, the FORMATHON program, it's 3 weeks, so that's what you have to keep in mind. For those of you who are familiar with hackathons, it's a bit of a play on hackathon. It's a bit of a drawn out hackathon. There's no 24 hours. We don't provide Red Bull, although if you like Red Bull, please feel free to do what you need to do. But we also have split it into 2 different sections. Now, I know it might seem a bit overwhelming. What is a startup track? What is a research track? All you need to keep in mind is the following. If you are interested in potentially creating a business or looking at the possibility of creating a business, then you want to be part of the startup track. When you're done the FORMATHON, you're not going to leave with a business, but what you're going to leave with is there is a potential for a business. Here is a potential prototype that we're looking at, and we've validated or we've confirmed with some of our potential customers that we can do this. So now we can validate and say, why don't we go and build a business? If you're not interested in building a business, but you either want to deepen your knowledge on a specific component of fintech, or if you really are just curious about the challenge and you want to dive in a bit deeper, then you want to be in the research track. Right? And that's really, you can think about that a bit more academically, not super academically, but you can think about it more in the academic sense of how research is done there, more of a focus on the problem. So startup track, I'm going to end up looking to see how I can build a business. Research track, I'm going to end up knowing and understanding a bit more about what this challenge is. All right, if we're good here, then we can look at over the 3 weeks, what are you guys going to be focusing on in terms of the sessions? There are 4 main components of how the 3-week program is going to go. And this is what you guys are going to be working on. We're going to be giving you the challenge. That's true. We're going to be connecting you with the mandator. And the mandator is the company that's sponsoring or has identified that particular challenge. And through these 4 segments that you see in front of you in the screen right now, that's how you're going to come up with a final solution or more in-depth research. Problem definition, breaking down what is the specific challenge mean. Ideation, how do I come up with solutions around this? Wireframing, how do I build a prototype? What does that look like? And lastly, testing. How do I test with the right people or the people who are interested, who may be my customers or who are facing or are experiencing this specific problem? And those are the 4 main components that you guys are going through over the 3 weeks of the program. If you are in the startup track, you're going to be going through all of this, but a heavier emphasis is going to be on the wireframing and testing. If you're on the research track, again, you'll be going through 4 of those, but a lot of the focus is going to be around the problem definition and the ideation. All right. I'm also going to pause here and say, if there are any questions and answers, normally we would take them as we go through, but I know we have a lot of sessions to cover. There is a Q&A portion, as Karina mentioned. So either write it on the chat, and we're happy to answer them and keep our eye on them, or we're happy to take those questions towards the end. Now, I just also wanted to very lightly touch on some of the tools you guys are going to be given. A lot of the work is going to be focused on you guys. I know the way I'm explaining it might seem like it's a lot. It's going to be very session driven. You guys are going to be learning a lot, which you will be, and you're going to be sat in Zooms listening to me talk for 3 weeks. That's not actually the case. The idea of the Formathon is to give you as much opportunity for you to build it with the team that you chose and that you want to work with. But some of the assets and some of the tools you're going to be leaving with is understanding design thinking. Again, an assumption that you may or may not be aware of it, but at least have that practice on it. Business model canvas, and a very heavy emphasis on customer validation as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that if you have any on what these frameworks mean or why they're important later on towards the end of the session. So I don't want to spend too much time on the dates in case you haven't seen them. All of them are listed on our website, so you can see them. And Gigi will be posting the website link as well here for you. So these are all of the dates. As 2 key things I'm going to highlight here is it starts on May 26th and it ends and culminates on June 17th. But for you guys, what to note about the 3 weeks is there are really 2 sessions that you have to be active in, or you and your team should be making sure somebody's covering. The first ones are the Saturday sessions. Those sessions are a little bit longer. You get some of the frameworks, some of the theory, and you meet with the partners who are sponsoring the challenge so you can understand the challenge better, and you get a bit of working time with your teams. The Wednesday evening sessions is summarizing and going over some of the content, but most importantly, giving you the time to meet with the industry experts that I mentioned earlier, and then I'm going to get into in a few seconds. Now, why this is really important is because you're not going to be building a solution by yourself blindly, but you're going to be getting close to 30 to 50 people who work in industry right now and who are going to be better able to direct you and say, this works, or this doesn't work, or this is what we've experienced, or this is what we haven't experienced. And so those are really the 2 key components to keep in mind, the Saturday sessions and the Wednesday sessions. And lastly, of course, there's going to be a pitch closing session with prizes that we'll touch on in a little bit. Now, who are these industry experts and why are they really important? Well, I touched on it as well, so I don't want to spend too much time, but here are some examples of where these industry experts are coming from. So you'll see not only from our partners, Payments Canada, Expertus, and OBIC, but you also see we have companies like Shopify. For those of you who are familiar with the fintech ecosystem, you'll know Lightspeed and Flinks, of course. We'll also have industry experts from them, Google and Next AI, for those of you guys who are really tech focused, and a variation of different stakeholders in the ecosystem, such as AMF, which is a regulator in Quebec, and FinML, which leads machine learning and finance out of Ivado as well. So that's really one of the key parts of how we develop solutions in the Formathon. And why that's really cool is if you come into the Formathon, you participate and you leave with nothing, at least you've met 30 people from industry, and that's a brilliant network that you can start developing and start building as well. All right, I'm going to pause here because I think you guys have heard quite a bit from me, and I'm going to launch poll number 2. So I'm just going to wait. We're going to have poll number 2 launch, I should say better. And as soon as I get the thumbs up, you guys can see the poll. I'll give you guys a chance to let me know just from what you've seen so far, what track interests you? And do you already have a team formed? All right, I'll give you guys a few seconds and I'll wait for the green light to. Perfect. And just as you guys are filling in the forms, I'm gonna just highlight that Gigi has put the FinTech Cadence website on the chat in case you want to see the dates or any more information that we're discussing. Okay, and I'm just going to be waiting for the responses. Oops, I don't know if that's me that's putting the images on the poll there. But. Okay, so we're gonna be going through the responses in a few seconds, but we can continue. Excellent. So now I want to spend a bit of time introducing what are the challenges specifically. And as you would have seen on our website, we have three main challenges that were provided directly by industry and by those who are facing some of these challenges. Perfect. And so you'll see the three mandators here: Payments Canada, Expertus, an IBM company, and OBIC. And if you haven't heard of OBIC before, they're open banking initiative in Canada. They're an organization that recently started that's very interested in exploring what does open banking look like for Canadians. And I'm going to get into that when we get into the challenges. The second one is Expertus, a company that was recently acquired by IBM and focuses very heavily on the back end of product development as well as security. And Payments Canada, the organization in Canada that regulates and oversees how payments works in general. Now, if you are wondering what payments, when I talk about payments quickly, and I'm glad, thank you, Karina, for putting that up, we'll start right away with challenge number one, and I'm going to go over what all of these components entail. So challenge number one is stated as utilizing Payment Canada's API portal, develop a solution to help solve real-world payments inefficiencies for Canadians and businesses alike. I'm going to caveat this by saying on our website, there is wonderful detail about what some of these components of the challenge, especially challenge number one, looks like. Challenge number two and challenge number three, more details will be coming over the next few weeks, so just keep your eye on them. But for those of you guys who are wondering, okay, well, what does that really look like? Think about when you go and you pay for something and you use either like your mobile phone or use your credit card, et cetera, and how that payment process is really quickly. There are still components of when we're paying things. Maybe it's when I'm transferring from a business to a business, and it takes a few days for that money to get into their account. So really what you're looking at if you're interested in challenge number one is how do I make payments and in general easier for Canadians and businesses and consumers alike. And if you don't know what API portals mean and you're really intimidated by that, I'm going to encourage you guys to still give it a shot if you're interested in payments. In that, sorry, I can see that we are going crazy on the slides right now. You will forgive us. We're just trying to figure out how Zoom works apparently, but it's all good. So if, like I was saying, if you are intimidated by API portals, please don't be. First things first, for this challenge and for all the challenges, you will note that if you don't know anything about them, we will be bringing on the partners and the mandators at the beginning of the FORMATHON program to break them down into more details for you. Okay, so that's just one thing I want to say. But the other thing I also want to say is that each of these challenges comes with a contextual document. It's not an essay that you have to read, but it's a 5-page guiding document that will break down what formulates part of each of these challenges. And so if you're not familiar with what an API portal is, then don't worry, the document will help you when you first start in the program, it will help you. And second of all, we'll also be here to make sure that you are guided. The second challenge presented by Expertus and IBM company is around using cybersecurity technology, develop a product to safeguard fintech startups and scale-ups. Now, this is why this one is very exciting and also very pertinent to what's happening now. If you are familiar with the fintech ecosystem, you will know that for a fintech company to develop and progress mostly in Canada, it needs a partnership with a financial institution, whether it's because it needs to move money around or whether it's for the technology components or customer acquisitions, it needs a financial institution. More often than not, we're looking at big banks, but sometimes this can be credit unions or smaller financial institutions as well. The biggest challenge for fintechs to be able to partner with financial institutions is the security component. Do any of you guys bank with Desjardins? Okay, so I see, okay, perfect. So I see a few of you guys have indicated that you have. Now, you guys will know if you do bank with Desjardins, there was a huge security issue, and I don't want to get political or spend too much time on it, but you will see there's a big security issue that happened, and a breach of information was shared by an employee that really caused havoc for the company. Now, because of this, amplified by this, but really just in general, a lot of financial institutions are very worried with how they work with third-party organizations or startups in this case. And so they are very hard pressed and scrutinize the security systems of these companies, and they scrutinize if they're going to be compliant and if their customers are going to be facing any security breaches. With that in mind, the question becomes, well, then how do we help these smaller companies, these startups, build a robust cybersecurity system so that when they work with financial institutions, or just in general as a small company, their consumers are protected and financial institutions are also happy to and feel comfortable working with them as well, right? And again, you don't need to know anything about cybersecurity here in order to get into this challenge. But it's just more around how can we make sure that this ecosystem is more robust when it comes to security. And then, so those are the two challenges that are part of the startup track. Remember, the main purpose of that is to come out with a business. And let's go into the next track, the research track. So this one is a very exciting one for us. I mentioned Open Banking Initiative in Canada. Let's see a wave from those of you guys who have your cameras on still, two brave ones, or you can use your thumbs up in the reaction if you guys are familiar with open banking. So if you are familiar, let me see a thumbs up. If you're not, thumbs down. Okay, perfect. So this is really exciting, and I will not bore you because then I can get on forever. And I'm also very conscious and see the time at the corner of my eye. But I will just very quickly say to you, open banking is the ability for anyone, for consumers to really be able to manage their own data, right? So right now in Canada, financial institutions own your data. And so when you want to give your data to another company, you are now in breach of the agreement that you have with a financial institution. Again, please don't be intimidated by any of this stuff. If you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, that's okay. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because in this specific challenge, you're going to be seeing why is open banking valuable for Canada, and why has, for most part, anyone with an established financial sector globally has already implemented open banking or specific versions of open banking. And that's what you're going to be really focusing on in this challenge. And more specifically, you're going to be focusing on it with people who have irregular income. So gig workers, think of Uber drivers, think if you're doing part-time consulting work, really irregular incomes there as well. And those are the the two tracks that we're going to be focusing on, and the three challenges that we're offering to you. Now, this is probably why most of you guys are, okay, this is cool, this sounds like fun, but what if I don't have a team? How do I get involved in it? Or I'm gonna assume you guys are thinking this is fun. Maybe it's just fun for us. But how do I start with a team? How do I find a team? Now, if you already have a team, that's great. You can block me out for the next 2 minutes. If you don't have a team, we also aim to provide you with the opportunity to meet people and build a team. Now, you're not getting into a legal agreement with the people you're going to be working with. You're not getting into any kind of marriage heavy contract. This is just for 3 weeks. We have similar interests. Let's work together and let's see if we can solve this. Following the 3 weeks, if we get along well, we can see if we want to continue as a team, if we're in the startup track and build a company together, or we can see how we can build each other's network as we proceed. So just want to make sure, first and foremost, that's very, very clear. But we are also responsible to give you guys the opportunities to meet with each other. I'm going to explain to you an opportunity in a few seconds of how you can do that. What you see on your screen, however, is how we often recommend you guys build your teams. This is a heavy generalization. I don't want anyone to look at it and say, okay, this is how you guys see people from different communities. This is just an easy way to help facilitate conversation as you guys build a team. We've split them into hipsters, which are often the creatives, the creators, the artists, the graphic designers, etc. Hustlers, the business, the finance, the people who know how to pitch. I see Nina getting excited there. And then lastly, developers, the coders, the programmers, and the builders of potential products. So those are how we try and identify people. So when you guys are saying, okay, I need to build a team, you guys aren't all a team of hackers, because you will need to do your sales pitch. You will need to pitch at the end, that somebody is comfortable with doing that. And that if you're hustlers, you're not a team of hustlers being like, we have this brilliant idea, we don't know how to build it because we don't know anything about coding. So you want to make sure there's diversity in how we're building that team. And like I said, we're going to guide you through that process in the formathon. There's options pre-formathon for you guys to be able to meet each other. And like I said, you're not getting into a contract with these people, but just going through the experience together over the next 3 weeks. One of the ways that you guys are going to be given the opportunity to meet is actually next Wednesday, if I do my dates correctly. We're doing a 5 cassette or a happy hour for those of you from the Ontario region, where it's purely just a networking with each other, just to start meeting each other and start seeing, okay, what are you interested in? What's your background as well? Okay, so that's just one area to kind of ease you into it before the formathon starts. And even up until that point, you don't need to have been signed up for the formathon. It might just be a good way for you to test and see if there's anyone that you would want to work with as well. And Gigi will be sharing the link for that on the Zoom chat as well for you. Perfect. All right, so it's almost my time to be done talking, and I'm excited to be able to do that by saying this year, for the first time, we're actually really excited in that we're able to offer a $5,000 cash prize for every challenge. So not every track, but every challenge. And it's going to be, it's going to be done during the finals on June 17th. You guys will be doing your pitch. We'll have people from Payments Canada, Expertus, and OBIC respectively come in and judge your pitching. I think at this point, everyone's pretty comfortable with what that looks like. And like I said, a $5,000 cash prize. So not a bad way to spend 3 weeks. All right, this is the last thing from me. I'm going to launch the last poll for the evening. And that is just very curious from our standpoint, if there are any challenges that already interest you, and if you think that you would be registering for the formathon. So we're going to launch that in about 3 seconds. It's already launched. Amazing. And I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to answer it. And while you guys are answering, very interested to see that in the last one, we have an even split between people who are interested in building a startup and potentially those of you guys who are interested in the research track. And there are over 60% of you who are looking for a team. So that's great. That means a lot of you guys already are open to looking for a team. A few of you guys who already have a team but are looking for more people. And about 5 of you guys who have a team ready to go. So I'm excited to see what you guys are able to do there. All right, perfect. So let us wrap up the poll for now. Thank you very much. And like I said, we're going to be sticking around later on in the evening. So if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of them. And then I'm going to hand it over to Karina to take on the next part.
Yeah, thank you for this great introduction. So to finish off, we wanted to make you meet a couple of our alumni from last year. So I will invite Shendy and Melanie, who were alumni from last year. So hi, Shendy. Hi, Melanie.
Hello.
Karina.
Hey, guys. So you guys did the FORMATHON. For you, Shendy, you did it last year, if I'm not mistaken. And Melanie, I think you are a very, I should say, somebody who's very well used to the FORMATHON because you did it twice. And last year you were also animator, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah. As you can see, I really, really love this program.
I can understand. So maybe I'll start with Shendy. I wanted to give you maybe the opportunity of telling us a bit more about Seed Finance, your project, and how it came to be. So maybe the floor is yours.
Sure. Thanks, Karina. Hi, everyone. My name is Shendy Ni. I'm currently a PhD student at the University of Waterloo and also the founder of Seed. So I participated in last year's Formathon in the startup track. So last year we had the challenge of the Canadian Student Loan Challenge, in which we need to find a solution to address the student loan problem in Canada. So during the process, we learned about the concept of income share agreement, aka the ISA, which is an alternative way of financing education. So in the income share agreement, there is no upfront tuition payment, and the students only pay the school back when they find a job and earn livable income. So our solution was to create a platform that connects investors with students. Investors would fund the students' education via the ISA, and they would also provide mentorship to students to help them achieve career success. So in last year's Formathon, we won 2 prizes. So to me, the success was based on 2 things. First, we had a very balanced team with different backgrounds. We had consultants, developers, designers, data scientists, and finance practitioners. Everyone contributed his or her expertise to the project. And second, we picked a very unique angle. Despite that the challenge was about student loans, we didn't limit ourselves to student loans. So we explored the ISA idea and then attack the problem from a unique angle. So thinking out of the box is definitely very important. So for me, I'm still working on the idea. I'm actually working on Seed, which is a startup based on the idea of ISA. However, our focus has shifted since FORMATHON, and then we're working on providing a service to schools that are offering ISAs or are thinking about offering ISAs.
That's super cool, Shandy. You mentioned you had a very diverse team. Did you come in the FORMATHON with a team, or did the team was formed during the FORMATHON?
So we didn't. I didn't come to the FORMATHON with the team, so I found team members during the process.
And how did that work out? I mean, you said you had a really diverse team. Was it fun?
Right. So I remember last year we had the same networking session where everybody just talks about his or her background, and then at the time there was a team looking for people with expertise in finance and specifically quantitative modeling, and I had that background, so I joined the team, and very luckily we made a very good team.
That's super cool. Do you have any tips and tricks to give to this year's board?
So as I said, I think having a balanced team is super important. So I suggest everyone talking to other people and then understand what other people have, what skills other people have, and what you can contribute to the team.
Super. I'll maybe jump to you, Melanie, and I like to maybe have you explain to both of your challenges, maybe the startup one and then the research one. How did that go?
Sure. So it was back in 2018, which seems an eternity ago, and we still have FORMATHON in person, which was an amazing experience. It was my first experience in entrepreneurship, my first experience in an innovation competition. You can say I loved it. I keep coming back. Back then there was just the startup track. We were in the challenge of Banque Nationale, who wanted to help Canadians switch banks more easily. So we came up with an idea that allowed us to win that track, and we worked with the National Bank for a couple of months trying to polish the idea a little bit, and it ended up by being dropped, but the experiences and the knowledge we got from it is just amazing. And a little bit like Chandy, I met my teammates through FORMATHON. One of my teammates, actually, the other one was a colleague from school, and we're still working together in our second venture, Mind the Gap. We were part of Ascension this year. Amazing experience again. The second, this 2019, it was for the research track. We work for the Aquantics challenge, and it was a completely different experience, super interesting to have to do more research, to have to kind of do almost a consulting, if you want, a mandate. It was very, very, very fun. And that's it. And I came back last year as an animator because I just can't stay away.
Super excited. And I don't know if we can maybe announce it now. Yeah, we can. You will be animator again this year.
Yes, of course. It will be like my fourth FORMATHON, 4 out of 5. I'm really happy you guys have me back. And I'm really excited to meet all the teams, and I help you guys as much as I can.
So just a quick word, we haven't mentioned what the animators were, but for each track, you will have a sort of coach and mentor throughout the program. So Melanie will be animator for the startup track, and I will be animator for the research track. So thank you so much, Melanie. Did you want to give any tips and tricks to finish off, maybe?
I think that you're going like the people who decide to sign up, and I really strongly recommend you do. Even if you're curious about entrepreneurship, even if you're not sure it's something you wanna you wanna follow afterwards, I really think the workshops, the content of the workshops, the network opportunities are worth the time. And you will be learning so many things that you could transfer in all of your other in your other hats that you wear. For example, I'm a data scientist, and I keep applying design thinking theory to my work every time I work in a project. So this is knowledge from an amazing team that you will be used forever.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Shandy, too. And if ever anyone have any questions for our two alumni, I'll invite you guys to stay maybe on for the Q&A. So if people have questions directly to you, you can ask them directly to Shandy or Melanie. And also, I'm inviting everyone now to ask their questions if you have any. If there were any areas that might have been less clear, now is the time to ask away. Don't be shy.
We must have answered everything perfectly, Karina. That's the impression we're getting.
That's the feeling I get too. So if you guys are interested, are we restricted to fiat currency?
Sorry, Lisa, you might have to expand a little bit on what you mean there.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself if you want to ask it out loud.
There we go. Hi. Yeah, I was just wondering if it's like, do we have like, is cryptocurrency like in the realm of what you guys are working on, or is it just restricted to like US dollar, Canadian dollar, that kind of thing?
No, everything is on the table, right? So as creative as you guys want to be within this ecosystem, or excuse me, within this sector, you guys can be. So just keep that in mind. Maybe that my only caveat is making sure that a crypto solution will fit somewhere within the challenges that you see more than anything, right? Perfect.
And then we have a second question. It's funny because Nina was like, we should say if it's Eastern time or Pacific time. And now the question is the official events running on Eastern or Pacific time? The official events will be running on Eastern time. Also, we have a question from Gabrielle saying, are there going to be tools provided to communicate with team members?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to take this one, Karina, if you don't mind. Yes, Gabrielle, there is. We really are a multi-pronged approach organization. So first and foremost, our main way of communication is through Slack. So we would be inviting you guys on our Slack community. We'll be giving you guys that opportunity to connect. Of course, we communicate all of the information via email as well, just in case you miss it, or you hate Slack because you guys are slacked out, or you don't know what I'm talking about when I say Slack. I'm happy to introduce all that to you. But the reason we encourage most of the communication between the teams to happen on our Slack channel is because we also have over, I think, almost like 1,000 people from the ecosystem on our Slack community as well. We post jobs there consistently. I think today we've already posted 2 different jobs. We also, startups that have gone through our programs are also able to, you're able to connect with them there. And we have a lot of different people who are part of the ecosystem who've been part of our programs in the past. Be a part of it. So we heavily depend on Slack. Of course, if you guys want to use any other platforms, you're more than welcome to. We reinforce that with email. And last but not least, we centralize all of the information on our Google Drive that you will have access to as well. So I hope that answers your question, Gabriel. Okay, perfect.
You have 2 other questions. The next one is the commitment limited to Wednesday and Saturday sessions, or will there be homework in between sessions? Just asking to budget time against commitments.
Absolutely, Fenusan. So I don't know if you just graduated and you're like, I don't want to look at another homework assignment again. And I wouldn't blame you if that's the case. So I'll be very frank with you guys. The sessions that we have are run on Saturdays and Wednesdays. If you as a team can coordinate, because some of you guys are busy, as long as there is a representative from the team on the Saturday or Wednesday session, that's absolutely fine with us. that now keep in mind, in the Saturday sessions, we give you a time slot for you guys as a team to work together. So that's also, it's not just sitting in a session, but it's you guys as a team working, and we'll create Zoom breakout rooms where you guys can work independently. And we're always there to jump in if you guys have any questions. In terms of homework, it really depends on what you guys are doing. If you're efficient and you want to get through it through the Saturday sessions, you're more than welcome to. But keep in mind, if you're in the startup track, you're really looking and seeing what's the possibility to build a company, right? And as you saw with what Chendi and Melanie said, it really is the way for you guys to start having conversations around, is this a commitment you guys are going to make after the 3 weeks to build this solution and kind of take the fintech ecosystem by storm? So it really does come down to you. And it really depends on the other participants. You guys are going up on up against like for $5,000 cash prizes. So you also want to gauge how much there is. Now, there's nothing that you have to submit. So from that sense, there is no homework in that. We'll give you milestones to advise you to achieve by specific time. So by week 2.5, if you haven't started on a wireframe, for example, that would just be something that we would encourage you to start working on there as well. And we also have optional sessions. So all of that will be in the details in the breakdown of the website. But I hope that answers your question there, Thanusan. And I hope I pronounced your name right as well. Okay, perfect.
And the last question for now, it doesn't mean it's the last question ever. Oh, I think we have a hand up.
One question.
Yes.
In terms of intellectual property, like, do we own the intellectual property of the things that we develop?
That is a wonderful question, Lisa. And this is our 5th year of doing this. And we often always start the Formathon session by explaining how that works. And for some reason this year, we just wanted to test and see if you guys would pick up on it. If you are in the startup track, all of the intellectual property belongs to you. You'll be given, APIs and data sets, but all of that, anything that you guys build belongs to you. In the research track, that information is going to be shared and distributed with Open Banking Initiative in Canada. So that's more of a collaborative research report there. Now, if you guys develop a solution from the research that you do in the research track, that's your intellectual property as well.
Great question, Lisa. A question from Helmi also is, can we participate if we're not in Canada now?
Yeah, absolutely. There is no challenges as long as like we said, somebody from your team is able to attend the sessions, as long as the timing doesn't kill you. I don't know where you are based right now, Helmi, so excuse me. If the time frame works for you, that's wonderful. The more people that are involved, the better I think it is in general. I will just put a very small caveat, because that's how life works, I guess, is the solution does have to be oriented towards the Canadian market. So you don't have to be in Canada. You can be anywhere. You never have to ever come to Canada, but the solution has to address the Canadian market.
Any last questions before we maybe jump to networking?
Yes, I do have a question. Sina here.
Hello.
So originally when I joined this, I didn't really realize exactly what's needed. So from what I'm hearing here is that it's not just for developers, but it's for business people and artistic people and so on. So I was wondering, is it too late for me to bring someone else to join that that's still ongoing? Okay, great. And the next part to that is essentially, is there a chance that I can get a recording of the, a saved copy? Okay, great. That helps out. That's it for me.
Sina, I love it. You are reading our faces. You are on top of it. Which is just in case you guys have, the deadline really is after the first weekend the Formathon starts. So the official start date is May 26th. And if I can do my math quickly, it's 27th, 28th, 30th. So until the end of May 30th, where you can register for the Formathon. We highly encourage if you guys are excited or you've ever worked with somebody in the past that you're like, oh, they'd be great on my team, bring them on. Like just have the more the merrier it is for you guys, especially those you're comfortable with. And then Sina, even though you read both of us saying, yes, it's okay, but I'll just repeat it again for anyone. Everything is recorded and will be uploaded, and we'll be sending you guys a follow-up towards the end, an email follow-up with the link for the information session as well.
Exactly. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
We have I think a last question on the chat is, does the solution have to be a B2C?
No, the solution doesn't have to be anything, right? This is really when we're looking at open banking, we really are looking at you guys coming in and kind of shaking up what everyone already has assumptions on. You'll see, for example, if you go on our website under the payments challenge, They are very open in saying this can be B2B, it can be B2C. So for those of you who might not be too comfortable, the question Imad is asking is around, does it have to be a product for consumers? It doesn't have to be. It can be a product for consumers. It can be a product for businesses. It can be a product through businesses to consumers, B2B2C. It really is your template to work on.
Thank you so much for your questions. I think the hour is almost over. So if you haven't registered already, like Leal mentioned, you still have time to register, and we really recommend you guys register sooner than later. So you can, I think Gigi will put the Eventbrite in the chat. So if you haven't registered yet, here you go. And yes, easy as you can register before having a team. If you don't have a team already, we will help you form it. And if your team just comes in as the days go, they can just register when they're ready. And yes, okay. So for those of you who maybe want to stay, we will be breaking out in breakout rooms, and we'll be doing little rounds of 6 minutes. And we'll have a person from FinTech going around every team to make sure that the conversation is flowing and going well. This is, of course, not mandatory. If you feel you've had all the information, you already have your team, you can log off. But if you're interested in learning, maybe meeting new people, this is a great first opportunity. So Gigi will, in a few seconds, break out everybody. I don't know if we're ready to, yeah. Okay.